Hello and welcome to another Health Bite. Now, today I wanted to begin by sharing a little story with you. It's a true story, and it's about a gentleman who is known as Mr. Wright. And Mr. Wright had advanced lymphoma. Now, this is a type of cancer, and he was in hospital. According to his doctor, he had days to live. And he was emaciated, he was febrile, he had large tumors all over his body. And yet, Mr. Wright wasn't ready to die. He remained determined to find a way to turn his health around, and he was doing research even in his weakened state. And he learned about a trial drug that had allegedly been getting very good results with cancer patients. And so he began to pester his doctor, Dr. West, about this drug. Now, Dr. West didn't believe that the drug would be a good fit for Mr. Wright because he was so far advanced in his journey with cancer. But nonetheless, he eventually relented off the back of the ongoing pressure from Mr. Wright. And so he ordered the drug in. The drug was known as Placebo. And he began Mr. Wright on a course of treatment. And within days, there was a dramatic change in Mr. Wright's health condition. And to quote the words of his doctor, the tumors melted like snowballs on a hot stove. Such was the dramatic improvement. Mr. Wright gained in strength and in weight and in all-round vigor, and before long he was released from the hospital, and his health continued to improve to the point that he had made a full recovery and had spent many months at home. However, the story doesn't end there, because Mr. Wright would read an article in a medical journal about Placebo, about this trial drug that had saved his life. And unfortunately, the study, the report shared that Placebo was a hoax, that there was no medical substantiation for it giving any benefits to its patients, and that it had been discarded as a drug for any future use. Well, upon reading this information, Mr. Wright's hope plummeted. Within days, his health was showing visible evidence of deteriorating, and before long, he was back in the hospital. Now, his doctor, Dr. West, quickly recognized what was happening. He noticed how dramatically Mr. Wright had improved following the hope around Placebo, and then how dramatically he had again deteriorated when his hope had fallen away. And so he decided to step in and to help Mr. Wright. And so what he did was he announced to Mr. Wright that he had found another miracle trial drug, and that he wanted to put Mr. Wright on this trial. Mr. Wright happily agreed to this. However, what Mr. Wright did not know is that there was no second miracle trial drug. And what Dr. West did instead, understanding psychologically what was happening with Mr. Wright and the power of his mind in influencing the dramatic change in events in his health, he administered simply a saline injection into Mr. Wright while telling him that it was indeed a miracle drug. Well, you probably guessed it. Once again, Mr. Wright showed a dramatic improvement. All the tumors disappeared. His health went from strength to strength, and before long, he went home. However, tragically, the same would be repeated. Mr. Wright would hear of the truth that there was no miracle drug, and again, feeling hopeless and in gigantic despair, his health deteriorated one final time. He returned to hospital, and he died in hospital. Now, Mr. Wright's story, while a tragic one indeed, demonstrates a classic example to us of both the placebo and nocebo effect in action. So let's look at each of these in turn. First of all, the placebo. Now, the definition of the placebo is as follows: altering our physical reality through positive thought, belief, and expectation alone. And it's interesting to know that the Latin of placebo indicates I shall please. Interesting. Another definition for placebo is the measurable, observable, or felt improvement in health or behavior that is not attributable to a medication or invasive treatment that has been administered. Now, let's look at the definition of a nocebo. This is the altering of our physical reality through negative thought, belief, and expectation alone. And what is the Latin of nocebo? I shall harm. Very interesting. Now, we've shared Mr. Wright's story, and you may be able to better understand how the traumatic changes in his health journey were precipitated by both the placebo and nocebo effect. And just a little tip, placebo can be easily remembered by the P of placebo being equated with positive effect, and the nocebo effect, the first letter N, being equated with the negative effect, just for your ease of recall. Now, moving on, the truth is that both the placebo and nocebo effects are playing out every day in hospitals around the world, in doctors' consulting rooms, and simply in the minds of people, wherever they may be. So let's look at a few everyday examples. First of all, someone is called into a doctor's room after the running of a few tests, and they're presented with a diagnosis that in these current times is considered a very serious or frequently fatal disease. So let's take the example of cancer in this instance. Now, I personally have had clients that were told at the time of their diagnosis by the doctor, and I quote, "You do know there is no cure for cancer." Or what frequently happens at the time of the diagnosis is that they are presented with a predicted time to live. Maybe they are told that they have 2 months to live, or 6 months or a year. Now, because of the considerable societal conditioning that we've all been subjected to through our lives, many people simply don't even question the doctor's word on this. You know, the doctor knows, doesn't he or she? So in this situation, many would therefore tragically take the word of the doctor on as the final truth. And so in many cases, they go on to manifest exactly what the doctor predicted. The classic nocebo. But I ask you, what if they were told something different? What if they were told that their body is extraordinary, that healing is always possible, and in fact that many people go on to survive? Do you think that might result in a different outcome? Of course it would. Now we know that millions of people around the world have healed from cancer despite being handed a very grim prognosis. So why not share this hopeful truth with the patient and with their family instead? Well, in short, this is not what allopathic medicine teaches its doctors to believe. Let's look at a completely different example now. How about aging? Again, societal conditioning is such that we learn to anticipate disease as we age. But we also know that this does not have to be true, and it does not have to be true for you. When we look at the blue zones around the world, and these are the populations of people dotted around the world who frequently live well beyond 100, and they die healthy. They die simply because they've reached the end of their soul contract. Now, if they can die healthy, why is it not possible for the rest of us? Well, it is. In these blue zones, they too live healthily and simply. But of equal importance, they don't expect to get cancer and heart disease, or to rely on high blood pressure drugs or lipostatins as they age. They expect to be healthy all the days of their lives. The classic placebo. Now, there are also many other examples I could cite here. Deteriorating eyesight with age. So I'll ask you the question, do you expect to need glasses just because you're aging? Do you expect to get arthritis with age? Think about what you think about when it comes to health. And so in closing, I invite you to become deeply mindful of the thoughts you contemplate in regards to your health, and learn to consciously choose the thoughts that will have the placebo effect in terms of your health, both now and with respect to your health in the future as you age. Choose the thoughts and the expectations that you will age with abundant health and with grace and love in your heart. And your chances of experiencing just that will be so much greater for it. Until next time, sending you so much love.